Americans should still brace for a potential eruption of Mount Spur in Alaska near Anchorage, and that could spew a lot of ashes and problems in that directions. So just recently and in the recent month, it seemed at one point that Mount Spur in Alaska was only moments away from erupting, but now the scientists and geologists have said that the likelihood that the volcano would erupt has decreased, although experts are warning that residents of Alaska should still remain on alert with this one. The volcano luckily is being closely monitored because the activity is ongoing at the volcano. So Mount Spur is still producing earthquakes, but less frequently at the moment, but it still also has steam coming out from its vents. So what's going on? So the volcano is approximately 80 miles away from the major city in Alaska, Anchorage. It still remains at an elevated level of unrest, and an eruption is still possible. That's what the scientists are making clear. But according to the latest reports, the Alaska Volcano Observatory, it's called AVO, they believe that the chances for an imminent eruption have decreased further because their satellites, they're surveilling the volcano with their satellites, have not detected sulfur dioxide coming out from the volcano since April 3rd. But we had poor weather. And that means that the Volcano Observatory has been unable to measure volcanic gases by flying over it with airplanes and helicopters since the end of last month. And so they're flying blind here. They don't know what's going on. And the same issue is also affecting the satellites. And we've seen it with other volcanoes in Iceland, for example. Even if the measuring instruments don't see it, it could be there because measuring instruments there are being influenced by bad weather, storm, rain, snow, stuff like this. And it's the same case here. So is it really the case that people can have a short break from the threat of an imminent eruption? Or were they just not able to get the correct measurements? That's the big question. So because the researchers have just previously said that satellites have not detected sulfur dioxide from Mount Spur since April 3rd. They have not been able to detect it, or there really is none. That's the big question. And it is most likely due to cold weather that they were not able to detect it, and not because the volcano is not producing it. So that doesn't calm me down too much, guys. The latest update that they have given, the researchers reveal that although the web cameras have been obscured by clouds since a few days ago, basically starting April 21st, sulfur dioxide emissions have now been detected in the satellite data. Yeah, so what is it? Don't be afraid. It's not happening immediately, but now they're reversing everything. That's why I thought I'll give you this update, because it's a little bit, what are they saying? So the observatory has said, like, based on the recent changes in their monitoring data and the inability to measure gas for the last month at Mount Spur, the outcome of the current unrest is less certain. So that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It means they don't know. They even know less now. This is how I interpret that. So the earthquake activity is still happening, and that is definitely a hallmark of a potential eruption. So I hope that they are not going to be surprised by something. So researchers said, quote, just yesterday, although unrest continues, there have been no changes observed in the monitoring data that would indicate that the volcano is moving closer to an eruption. But they also have not received any new data that would indicate that it's moving further away from an eruption. It sounds like basically everything's still the same. It's on an alert level, on a higher alert level. And of course, they compare it with previous eruptions, and they say based on previous eruptions, changes from current activity in the earthquakes, ground deformation, summit lake conditions, and fumarolic activity would be expected if magma began to move closer to the surface. Yeah, these are all indicators. And so they say that's their conclusion. If an eruption occurred, it would be preceded by additional signals allowing a warning. If they're able to measure that, which they, part of it, haven't been able to for a whole month, right? And remember what the scientists in Italy are saying. If the officials and even the observatories are telling you this volcano is very closely monitored, that doesn't guarantee safety, because they're monitoring until it erupts, right? So there's roughly a little less than 300,000 people that live in Anchorage, and there's surrounding areas as well, and they have been preparing for a Mount Spur eruption for weeks. And sulfur dioxide is one of the most common gases that is released in volcanic eruptions. It has the ability to really harm humans and residents around this area, cause serious human health problems, also cause acid rain, and also influences the climate in this area. And volcanic ash adds to it, doesn't make it any better. So people can have asthma attacks, aggravate chronic respiratory conditions, and also in a severe case, it can lead to a person being unalived, sorry, I have to say that stupid word, it's YouTube, by asphyxiation. Like long-term exposure to that can lead to lung disease as well. So what the residents can do right now, there's nothing they can do. Remain prepared and wait and see. The Alaska Observatory says there's more favorable weather conditions right now, and the collection of new gas data is happening, and they will do that, and it will help them to understand more what's happening. And they have said in a news interview, the scientist in charge at the Alaska Volcano Observatory, Matt Haney, has said, we don't have the full suite of data sets that in an ideal case would be drawing upon to make our interpretation. So it's a guessing game, guys. He says further, at Mount Spur, we expect to see increases in seismic activity, in gas emissions, and in surface heating prior to an eruption. And if one were to occur, but they don't have the data sets, right? They don't really know. He says such stronger unrest may provide days to weeks of additional warning, so that's good. And he says overall the likelihood of an eruption has decreased, but it's not zero. And I think that's important for the residents, right? It's not zero. And Mount Spur has erupted the last time in 1953, and then it has erupted 3 times in 1992. And it has quite a vent at the crater peak. It's located 2 miles south from the peak, and it has erupted in 1953, and there were huge columns of ash that were spewed up in the air, and explosions produced it even higher. So that all that rose up to 65,000 feet above sea level. This is how far the particles and everything was elevated and spit out. And then we have the 1992 eruptions that we also see in the videos when they were flying over Mount Spur. They closed down the Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport for 20 hours. So I guess we will have to wait and see. That was my latest update. Guys, I have made a video about the New Madrid seismic area in the US, in the middle of the continent. And this is such a devastating seismic area in the past and will be in the future. And it affects way more states than you would think. So we're not just talking about Missouri, we're talking about Arkansas, Tennessee, even Kentucky, and other ones could even send the seismic waves as far as Washington, D.C., and it has. And it's due to produce another earthquake between magnitude 7 and 8, and they're not prepared. Buildings are not prepared, infrastructure is not prepared. So watch that video or watch the other videos in the end screen. And of course, if you like the video, give it a like, share it with your friends. And if you want to support the channel, I have a buymeacoffee.com/silky site. Link is in the description of this video. And if you want to become a supporting member of this channel, click the join button. You get behind the scenes videos and private stuff. And of course, thank you for doing so, for being a member, for buying me the coffees and the supers here on YouTube. You guys are awesome. And I see you in the next one. Stay safe and be prepared. Bye-bye.